Have you ever really stopped to think about how the languages you speak every single day are actually building who you are? We tend to think of language as just a tool, something we use to get ideas from our brain into someone else's. But it is so, so much more than that. It shapes our world, our communities, and our very sense of self. Okay, let's get into it. All right, I want to kick things off with a big question, just to get you thinking. Is speaking only one language normal? I mean, is that the default setting for human beings? Now, for a lot of us, especially in places like the US or parts of Europe, the answer feels like a pretty obvious, yeah, of course. But what if I told you that's actually a pretty rare and, frankly, kind of weird way of looking at the world?
Just look at this quote from Ajit Mohanty, a sociolinguist from India. He's just casually listing the languages he uses in a day. It's this incredible mosaic. Oriya at home, English at work, Hindi for TV, Bengali for daily errands, even Sanskrit for prayer. And the thing is, each language has its own job, its own space. For millions, maybe even billions of people, this isn't remarkable. This is just life.
And that leads us right into our first big idea. We're going to start by tearing down a huge misconception, what I like to call the myth of one language. Now, there's a fancy academic term for this, the ideology of normative monolingualism. It's basically this powerful, often totally invisible assumption that speaking one language is the standard, the baseline, and that means being multilingual is, well, it's treated like a deviation from the norm. But as we're about to see, that idea just completely falls apart when you look at how the world actually works. Because here's the reality. For huge portions of the globe, speaking several languages isn't some fancy skill you put on a resume. It's a basic, fundamental requirement for getting through the day. You might use one language with your family, a different one to buy vegetables at the market, and a third one to deal with any official business. Multilingualism isn't the exception to the rule. It is the rule. Okay, so if you've got all these languages coexisting in one place, how does it not just become total chaos? Well, societies are clever. Let's look at one really fascinating way that communities create order with a set of unwritten, unspoken rules. The concept is called diglossia. Basically, it's a situation where a community regularly uses two different languages, or maybe two dialects of the same language. But, and this is the absolute key, they are kept in strictly separate lanes. They each have a job to do, and they never, ever crossed over. This table breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you've got the high or H variety. This is the heavyweight champion, the language of power, of prestige. It's what you learn in school and what you hear in the news or in formal literature. Think of something like classical Arabic. Then you've got the low or L variety. This is the language of the heart. It's what you learn first at home, what you use to chat with your friends and family. Think of a regional Arabic dialect or Haitian Creole. The crucial thing here is that they're kept totally separate. You would never hear a TV news broadcast in the L variety, and you'd sound ridiculous trying to talk to your best friend in the formal H variety. It's a whole social system running silently in the background.
But let's be real, that kind of strict, walled-off system is actually pretty rare. What's way, way more common is the beautiful, messy, and creative art of mixing languages all together.
The truth is, most multilingual people are absolute masters of something called code switching. They don't just speak one language, then stop, and then start another. No way. They weave them together, sometimes in the same conversation, sometimes even in the very same sentence. And this isn't a sign that they're confused or don't know the language as well. It's the exact opposite. It's an incredibly sophisticated social skill. So, why do people do it? Well, one really powerful way to understand this is through something called communication accommodation theory. It's a simple but profound idea. Whether we realize it or not, we are constantly tweaking the way we speak to fit the person we're talking to. It's like a social dance we do with our words.
And this dance really has two main moves. First, you've got convergence. This is when you shift your speech to sound more like the other person. Maybe you pick up their slang or switch to a language you both share. The goal is to close the gap, to build a connection and show solidarity. But then, there's the opposite, divergence. This is when you deliberately make your speech less like theirs. The goal here is to emphasize your differences, to create a bit of social distance and underline your own unique identity.
Now, this social dance isn't just happening in our conversations. It's literally written all over the world around us. You just have to know how to look for it, how to read what's called the linguistic landscape.
The linguistic landscape is just a term for all the language you see out in public. Shop signs, billboards, street names, graffiti, you name it. And trust me, none of it is random. It's like a visual map of a community's soul, telling you which languages are seen as powerful, which are seen as trendy, and which are seen as authentic.
Okay, so check out this picture from Berlin. The sign says Cafe, Happy Day. Now, this sign is probably not there just for English-speaking tourists. The choice to use English here is totally strategic. It's borrowing the global status of English, its connection to pop culture, to make this local German cafe seem cool, modern, and cosmopolitan. But now look at this. In the very same city, here's a sign for a Turkish market, Halal et Pazadi. This is doing something completely different. It's a powerful signal of cultural authenticity. It's telling everyone, not just Turkish speakers, but all Berliners, hey, this is the real deal. You want authentic products, you come here. The language choice here is all about highlighting a specific, proud cultural identity. So we've seen how societies manage languages, how we mix them, and how they show up in public spaces. Now, let's bring it all home and talk about the biggest idea of all, how you are, right now, speaking your very identity into existence. Here's a game-changing thought. We used to think of identity as a fixed thing, something you have, like the color of your eyes. But the way we understand it now is completely different. Identity isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's something you do, an ongoing performance that you are constantly creating and recreating every time you interact with someone. This means your identity isn't some solid, static thing. It's fluid, it changes. And you don't just have one identity, you have tons of them that you pull out in different situations. And what's the number one tool you use for this performance? What's the main costume you wear on the stage of life? It's language. Every word you choose, every accent you use, every time you switch from one code to another, it's all part of the act of showing the world who you are in that moment.
So I'll leave you with this. Every single time you open your mouth to speak, you are marking your identity. You're signaling that you belong to a certain group, whether it's your family, your coworkers, or your friends online. So the real question is, whose rules are you playing by? And what version of yourself are you choosing to perform right now?